Let's go start working on our scenery. And if we take our overall scenery what we want to create, we'll have it a three main part to this. We'll have it background, we'll have it foreground, and hero object. So this is kind of three main things for us to create, and we'll start with the background. Usually I create this workflow to optimize how my system works, because I know the atmosphere settings. If we're going to edit atmosphere right now, this is will more resource costing on our system as a render, because we're going with volumetric, clouds and other stuff. We'll start having some performance issue will affect our preview. So what I done in the years working with Foo, kind of find that my personal optimum, it's not necessarily may work for you, but for me it's how I work this way. First, I work on general shapes like a mountain foreground, which require less details. Next, we'll work on the foreground or middle ground, depending on how we're creating, to add details and hero object. And after, we'll start working with materials, applying ecosystem, and of course our atmosphere settings will be last what we're going to do. So this is kind of flow as we're going. And because we try to create like epic looking landscapes, basic kind of landscapes, they are a very good tool to explore and get handle of the how Vue application work. So before you jump to any complex sceneries, these probably more landscapes will work very well to let you know how application work. And it's what we're going to do with these epic landscapes videos in different genres. We're trying to explore, get handle in a creative way with the Vue. Don't necessarily going in a part of the how function editor work, how the nodes connecting, all that stuff. It is advanced subject and it's very useful, but it is more relaxing. Sit down, almost like take your brush, a palette, and just start drawing what you want to. So let's go, instead of speaking, let's start working on this. So we'll begin by creating terrain, and I will create high field terrain. I don't need to create fractal terrain or procedural terrain. Those ones is good because when you have it your camera movement and you add details depending on the position, then it is creating higher quality. So example right here is high field, and you can see the grid as generating. So example, if we're going and create, like for example, procedural terrain, high field terrain, notice what's happening. Now we start having different grid. You see how they change the resolution. The Vue is determine how close this resolution or how close the terrain to our camera, and based on this build high resolution image, which is a terrain. So if we take our camera, come closer and closer, and because it's fractal based and procedural, we'll have more and more and more details on the terrain, and it's excellent. It's actually a very nice way to do if you don't know a way of positioning. But in our case, this will take additional resources, because remember, if we move our terrain, they have more polygons, system need to calculate all this stuff. So we don't need it for foreground. It's the reason why I'm using just a normal high field terrain, that creating once, calculating once, and it's almost like a bake model. We could bake it actually to the polygons, but we don't need it. But overall, think about this, it's a preset. And of course, if we create it, we'll put them on a background. Let's stretch them out, and you can see what's happening. They're far away, creating those mountains. We don't need it very high resolution. Again, that's far, far away. And by the way, if you look on a system how it's work, it is two-dimensional. Even we work with three-dimensional world, we still see this not from our 3D. We still look on this through 2D, and because it is still image, we almost always will go look from 2D. We could render in 3D, and I do have some VR videos how to do this, or 3D images how we can create, but currently it is 2D. So for us as a 2D image, to distinguish the far away, we'll use what? Details, we'll use saturation, and we lose luminosity contrast. So those is important parts. And because far away, low details is actually will work in advantage for us. So we're getting a very nice, more realistic look. Okay, so right here we created some mountains on the back. One of them, let's stretch, put it more far away. And I'm just looking on preview, you can see how they're going right here. We can go create, hold on Alt or Option, left click and drag, and you can see we just duplicate it. We don't necessarily want to duplicate. So for this case, we just can click and just create another mountains, click, so it's random generated. Okay, and the mountains will look different. And right here you can see we create another ones. The other things what I like to do also, instead go straight, move them a little bit towards the camera. So if you notice, we look from top, this is our camera, you can see how they're going towards our camera. What's happening then, when we look on this image, when we start rendering, remember I told you, haze and details and all stuff, you will see how the beginning will be a little bit less hazy, and as we're going more far away more. So give it this perspective more of some mountains going away or kind of growing. Again, we can reverse them to create different directions. It's up to you, but we'll just go select like this. Adjusting again, create bigger size, and a bigger size so the far away we don't want flatten, but we want kind of showing them right here. And I think we'll look on a background. It's very simple. And you can see right here we have it create some little bit hills. If you want, we can create a bigger mountains. Again, we can go on a far away. Okay, so let's go ahead, create another high field terrain normal, and we'll go just increase size. It's become very big one. What I want to do with this, actually increase a little bit of the terrain resolution, so we'll have it a little bit more, and we're going to create mountains. But what we want to do is actually go to create peaks. So yeah, let's go ahead. Right there you can see we have peaks created. Let's click OK, and this is a little bit more far away, our kind of far mountains, almost like Hero Mountain, somewhere right there on the side. Okay, like right there. And we can also stretch to create it kind of almost a mountain ridge going on this area. Speaking about positioning, you'll notice right here I'm moving a little bit more to the frame. I don't necessarily like when it's going down. It's help us to set up our frame for our image. So it's meaning if I'm putting like on the middle, you can see we're going down here and another one, so it's kind of middle and it feel a little bit not balanced. We want to take vision and almost push it viewer to the center of our. So on this case, we'll just put it mountain on a corner, and you can see from top kind of start keeping the attention inside. Again, we can go ahead, stretch maybe even a little bit more, and let's skew just slightly, like right there. Okay, right here we have a little bit more Hero Mountain. We can also increase, play around with this, see what is kind of composition going nice to you, but I think that is already look very interesting. And this is our background mountains. So let's go ahead and work a little bit more now on our midground. And the midground will go around here. I'm working with the Vue Extreme version, so it is have it some grid. I think some other maybe don't have it, but you can see resolution. If we're going on us one square, let's just go like right there. So it's about 500 meters, one square this way, so 1 mile. So it is about several miles going up. Let's go create new high field terrain, and this one will go put it up front, and let's make it a little bit flatter. The interesting things when we do this way, you can see we come right here and it's covered because we have this hill, all this area between this mountain and our terrain, it will be hidden by the terrain we created. So we don't need to create any additional polygons or other things. If you do animations, if somehow your camera will start moving there, you need to think ahead of this and maybe create additional terrain there. But for me, because I know we are around this area, we won't go more far out. So I think this will work very well. so we don't need to worry about. One thing I maybe want to go and flatten a little bit more, like around here, so we can preview our mountains. But again, we cover all this area, and if you see just small something area visible of the terrain, don't worry too much. There will be total cover because we're going to add plants, trees, or some other elements along this side. Okay. Also, maybe, you know what, let's go just shrink a little bit closer to camera. And a reason for me to bring closer, we still have this line, so we still don't see it, it's hiding. But the smaller size we have, the less, when we start using ecosystem population, the smaller area ecosystem need to populate. And the less elements we have there, better on our resources, less polygons we're using. So we want to kind of consider in this way. Right here, this is a rough settings we have right now. So we have our background mountains and we have our foreground setup. I think at this point we can start work on some terrain, some materials for our terrain. Let's start with our terrain 4, and you know what, let's go ahead just to rename. I'm going to foreground, and this, all of this, we'll create new folder, and we'll just move this to this new kind of layer or folder, whatever you can call, probably layer better. And it will help us a little bit organize. Okay, so on this one, back mountains, foreground, and on the back mountains we can actually start working, select all of them. On this case, when we work on materials, this material will apply to all of our selected objects. We could just create on one and after copy and paste, but that way we can preview. Also, mapping mode for this, I want to be in a world standard, because it will stretch properly. If you're not familiar with mapping modes, I have videos how to explain how they work, but overall world is take all world coordinates and place those materials, whatever we applied with layers, based on those coordinates. So in this case, when we go on with color, and for example, if we applied, or mostly will be when we start adding layers, then it will be taken world positioning in calculations. So let's go ahead right here. It's far away, a little bit darker. I want to create maybe kind of more warmish color. We're going with the 2 colors, and for this we actually using natural grain type generation, and it's using kind of like almost fractal system to create those. Okay, and for the lighter ones, let's go a little bit lighter. Again, all is warmer. You can see how our mountains become a little bit warmer. We can play a little bit more with distortions, grain, add a little bit more roughness. You can see the difference between 2 of those layers. This is our base code. It's what we do for our terrain. Now we can put that stuff on top of this. So let's go ahead, create a new layer, and this new layer will be our maybe, you know, like a ridge rocks. Okay. So for the ridge rocks, let's go ahead, switch to the natural grain, and I want to actually create something darker for this, because I want dark rocks going here. Go a little bit up. Not as shiny. I don't necessarily like how it's shine, and it's our highlights. You can see global intensity dual, so we'll just reduce quite a bit. We don't want that shiny. Okay, let's go back in the color. We could also add a little bit, again, roughness, a little bit to our coloring. And right now it is 100% cover all our scenery. So whatever color was under there, it's invisible. But we want to interact because what point created, and we can do this with in a tab present. So this is where we can preset what altitude, slope, and other things we want to these rocks. So how say I want to create like on the ridges or maybe up in altitude. On this case, I'm going to say, hey, let's set altitude a little bit higher. And by the way, right here you can see how it's going. If you have a hard time sometimes see by the color, you can always go on the side right there and just click and select the highlighter. You can see how the highlighter going. Again, it's a world standard. It is apply to all those regions based on this. And if you switch to maybe object standard, that will go a little bit different. We'll go with object, but let's go switch to world standard again. Okay, so right now let's go ahead and add fuzziness on the top. You remember we have this sharp line, so we don't want that sharp line. We want a little bit adjustment here. Okay, and right here you see it says range altitude by object, and that's the reason why we have it even world standard, but it's going on this object, and it's different. So if you like this way, which is actually kind of okay, you can leave it this, but if we don't want it, we can say relatively to the sea. Also notice what's happening. You see we have this apply fuzziness or blending between, and because we apply it to relatively to the sea, so take all these global calculations and now it's more fuzzy. So 33%, because it's not by size, by percent, we want to reduce, maybe going around 8%, then we'll have a little bit better line. Again, right now it says maximum. Let's go bring it to the top, and you can see right here it's where we gonna start, maybe, a little bit down. Again, the highlights, it's helping us a little bit with this area. So we set this. Let's go next work on a slope. And a slope right now going from 180 degrees. So if we bring down to maybe about 27, you'll see the more flatter area will start kind of cover with this. If you want to go opposite, we can go opposite direction, and then we'll start a little bit more on a let's go move. Brought too much. Go right there. You can see it's more on this areas kind of start covering. So I think for the rocks, maybe this work a little bit better. Adjust that way. Again, we have very sharp edges there. We don't want it. We can go and add those little bit more softer fuzziness, deep and flood. That is will blend a little bit nicer. A little bit too much. Let's go right there maybe. Okay, now we have it kind of covering, and you know what, we can even drop down. So play a little bit more with this, see how this will come, how they work. And again, when it's work good, you can uncheck, and now you can see we have it, those other materials kind of starting blending in and creating a little bit nicer look. Okay, let's go to our ridge rocks. They're right here, and you know this color, maybe let's go to darker also. There you go. So it's kind of apply a little bit better, and mixing those materials, it's what will create nice. So next, let's go create one more layer, and we'll call this grass. It's something that will be similar to what we done before, only with this grass will be greener, and we'll want to put it a little bit on the hills at the bottom. So let's go change to natural grain, and in natural grain we'll go select kind of muted green, and let's select yellowish green, a little bit brighter, maybe like right there. So between those colors, you can select grain. Let's go increase a little bit more roughness, grain, contrast. So it's kind of again creating this dots, and it's what it's interesting things with our vision, because bump map, or what we see in afar and we perceive a small object, it is worked by luminosity. Luminosity contrast between black and white is how we determine the sharp object shapes. With increasing this type of luminosity here, with adding more grain, we're creating this different, and it will look more as a grass to us from far away object. So what we're trying to do. So now back to our presence. Again, we're going, let's set relatively to the sea. And again, if we need it, we can go ahead, enable highlight. On this highlight, I just don't want to go on the top of the mountains, opposite to what we done before. So we'll bring a little bit lower, and let's go add facets on the top. Okay, maybe even more, kind of, just almost like blending less and less here. Okay, next, again, slope. I want to present this more on a flat areas. Okay, and let's even more kind of going on a flat little bit areas, like right there. Okay, a little bit fuzziness on both. We don't worry about orientation. And now if we disable, go back to our grass, you can see how nicely we have it different coloring going on our mountains. We could also add a little bit flowering to this, and let's do this one. For example, if we want to do in a spring or other things kind of on faraway mountains, we go create a new layer. Let's go call it flower. And notice we don't necessarily need to use the ecosystem. We don't need to use the objects, because this, what we're doing, it is just with the materials, with textures. It's very light on a system, will render very fast, and we don't use it bump map or anything, so we don't need extra calculation. So that way, far away, we're using these techniques. It's worked very well. Okay, on our flowers, let's go select natural green, and I want to create different. So I'm going to create maybe like purple flowers. And let's create maybe some pinky flowers. Between those two, we add roughness to these. Let's work a little bit on the balance, add a little bit more on the distortion, like around here. And grain. You can see how the covering all over places. We don't need to do all of that. But we want to, before we do anything else, let's go same on a presence as we did before. We'll bring them a little bit down. Okay, let's add a little bit softer right here. Okay, again, we'll need to go relatively to the sea. Okay, there you go. Let's drop again, like around. I think right here will be about good on the flowers. We can same going slope range. Okay, we'll add just a little bit, but they fill up with everything. But we want to create the patches of the grass. For this, we'll need working with alpha. And you can see right here, we have it several options on our alpha map. We have it mapped picture we can apply, or procedural. And currently, we will going to work with procedurals. That's what we want to do. For the beginning, we'll just double click and open our selection. And I'm going with the grainy fractal, open this. And you notice how it's already kind of start disappearing there, just appearing on some elements. So let's go edit our function. And I said before, we don't necessarily want to edit the function. I don't want you to necessarily go in a function, but I want just you to see what's going on here. And you can see our alpha position based on our fractal symbol in its control alpha map. So this is what's happening. If you're interested more in the how to we can create a little bit more complex with this, again, I will have it more in depth and additional courses online and other things. But for now, just let you know, it's way more interesting happening behind you. You can calculate this, but we'll do with these filters. So next, let's go to click with a filter, edit filter. And this way we can actually even more contrast how this is happening. So you notice what I'm doing. I bring those two together, and this will create a little bit more isolation for us. So let me go bring closer, just right there. We have a little bit increasing contrast going on. Okay, yeah, I think this way filter will work better. And you can preview right in this area. You can see what's going on here. Now, and I think it says we maybe need it modified. So let me go opposite direction. Just see how it will look. Oops. Which one I want to look, and maybe grayish out. Not so much. It's cover. Okay. Yeah, and you can see with white color we're reducing some of opacity. So we can play around with how it's look. Okay, that look good, but I think it's still a little bit strong. And if you feel any layer of your strong, you have to right here what's called alpha boost. This will apply to overall layer. So if we, for example, go to the minus 100%, you can see it's totally disappear. If we're going to 100%, it's become more permanent. In this case, 100 plus 100 won't necessarily work because we already preset our procedures for alpha, but we can go down to 46, and you can see how we reduce, leave it just slightly, touch maybe a little bit more of this flowering on a background. Okay, maybe a little bit too much. Let's go back. I just want a little bit hint of the coloring of this on the background, like maybe some fields of the colors. And this is about all what I want to do for the background. Remember, a lot of stuff sadly will be covered by other colors, but overall let's give you idea how what we're going to do with material. So this is our background. Before we proceed to next one, I highly recommend for you to save your work on this step. And a saving work will prevent you, if you do mistakes, you won't come back, so you can always click and preload it what you've done. Or if something power go off or something, other things, remember always save your work. Also inside the view, if you're going to the options, you can set if you want automatically save your work. Okay, and how often do you want to save your work? So you actually can have it preset how your system work on this case. So and it will locate it in your option property. And if you're going down in general preference, you notice right here you will have it enable after save, and how often you want to save it, and how many versions do you want to save. So same things, I want to save scene after render. That is actually nice, and I think that will work. Sometimes I can increase maximum versions of the backup. This does help if you do a lot of changes and you want to go back to your version. It will take a little bit more of your space disk on a hard drive, which mostly we have the big hard drives, you don't need to worry about this. And after save, I maybe want to reduce this to like 4 minutes or even 3 minutes. Depend how actively you work, how much you're changing. And maximum save 10 versions, that should be fine. We can pop up to 20, just double from what we have it. Again, this will only affect one thing. Keep in mind, if you after save very fast, very often, you will have it on a background constantly system working. So sometimes maybe it's not very nice to set like every 30 seconds or whatever. 5 minutes work very good in most cases. I just did 3 minutes as example, showing you can change. Okay, and of course, because we did this change after save it, it's work temporary, but we do want to save our normal work. Okay, and of course, when you save it, you can see save button is gray out. It means it's all good. And when you do any modification, you can just click the button to after save it. Okay, so let's go ahead, continue now working. And we did some stuff for our mountains on the background. Let's go right now, close, and do a couple things for our foreground. Okay, so on our foreground, let's create material and textures. And when we're creating what we want to kind of create underlayer, because we're going to use the ecosystem like a grass to populate this stuff. And if we're creating too much of the grass to have this density look realistic, it will be very heavy on resources. So what we want to do, it is create underlay that is kind of creating almost teeny tiny grass looking under, so it will give it this perception of the full nice field. And we can easily achieve this with properly textures. Let's go ahead and work on this. I'm going to open material editor on the foreground, and you can open material editor by double time click on the icon right into your material. You can also just go ahead and click material editor icon this area, right click, select material editor from object browser, or just go from top and select from here. So it's many ways you can access this. I prefer just double time click and open material editor. So you'll notice right here we have our natural grain. It's a default material applied. We want to click and change those two colors. So one, I want to have it like muted darker green, and maybe a little bit more yellowish kind of worn out green kind of. So those two colors will help me create some green. Let's go enter more distortions, grain, and roughness. We want to add those almost look like patches of the grain. Okay, like right there maybe. Okay, so this is one layer, and to make it look even more kind of pop up, we're going to use a bump map for this, and we're going to use it, create procedural terrain, open, create fractal terrain. So we'll go use it, this one, for our bump map, but it's a little bit too big. So let's go ahead, select scale, reduce our scale to 0.1 on X, Y, and Z on all dimensions. So make it even smaller grain. And also depth is a little bit too high, so I think 0.05 depth will do. We don't want it too much of this bump map. We just want slightly touching. Again, bump map does not change shape, does not add polygon or anything, so it's in render. It will be a little bit lighter for our produce. So next we want to add maybe patch of the dirt to this. Let's create new layer, and again I'll go rename this one as a grass. We know it is grass material. We have it, this one, and it's a dirt. And for the dirt, same, we'll go with color. Let's go select natural grain. And natural grain, I want to create a little bit more warmer green right there. And let's go a little bit yellowish, brighter green. There you go. I notice highlights pop up by default. I don't need them that much. We'll go on a color more, and let's add way more roughness to this because we want kind of patching things, distortions, okay, and maybe on a balance. There you go. I think that will look nice. One thing you notice right here, it is covered everywhere, so we want to go in alpha, go in the procedural alpha, and just apply in again some areas. The nice thing is, if you notice, our bump map does not apply everywhere, and the reason is, if we look right here, you can see it's have it add replace. So if we add, it's much stronger as add everywhere. And if we're going on replace, because we don't have any bump map in those areas with alpha apply, it will create this nicer look, kind of flatten. I think this way will help us to create almost like look like teeny tiny piece of grass there. Let's go click OK right now. And I still think this terrain is a little bit too big. So let's go ahead. We'll select on terrain sizes, and let's down to maybe 150 meters. Okay, by maybe 150 meters. And reason is why I want to create smaller, so we have less area to populate with the ecosystem. So it's a less polygons, will be much easier to work. And I think height is 4 meters, so let's go just set 1 meter height on a Z, and we'll take this, bring closer to our camera, like around here. As we bring this, you notice right on the background we can see now this land right there, which is okay. We can select our foreground with right click, says copy materials at this point, click on our ground and paste this material so it will cover to extend. We don't need to worry too much about this because we'll have it plants just covering this area. Just in case, if some area maybe poke out, we'll just create this area. Okay, right now we create our foreground background. Let's go to our foreground, double tap click to open, and we can add ecosystem to this. To do this, we need to create a new layer. And when the layer created, we want to switch to ecosystem and particles. So this one will be our first rocks. Okay, we'll create a rocks, and let's go select the rocks. So I'm going to add item, add rocks, and we'll just go this rough rock. So we'll select that one. Let's go just try and click populate. So what's happening, you can see it's rocks everywhere. They're populating too much of them. To reduce this, we'll need to go inside the density and take and maybe have it about 8%. So let's go click populate. It's much less, but still a bit too many rocks. So let's go reduce even more. And let's look a little bit better. Maybe about to 1%. And populate rocks. Okay, that is look much better. Okay, one thing if we're populating right now, and we can look in a preview in a second, you'll notice the rocks actually will sitting on top of the ground. I want these bigger rocks. go a little bit below. So for this, we actually need to go to scaling orientation and direction from, or actually the positioning. So we want to, so going in the density, sorry, and right here, offset from the surface, we want to change absolute offset from surface to the minus. So let's go ahead and remember this is in meters. So we want minus 0.2 meters. So it's 20 centimeters that go below. If we click populate, you'll see this starts sinking a little bit down. That look a little bit better. Maybe, you know, just sink even more. Let's go to minus 30 centimeters. Okay. Let's go populate again. That look a little bit better. Again, the rocks kind of spread around, which is okay. Still think the density maybe a little bit too much. So let's go 0.1 on the density. So we'll just populate. I think that one a little bit better density. And the reason why I want to reduce density, so we can add additional rocks. And I'll show you what we're going with those rocks to do. So next we're going to, again, our general right here. Let's add new layer to this. Okay, and this is new layer we call small rocks. Okay, and as small rocks we want to convert to the ecosystem. Let's go to add items, add rocks. Again, we'll select the same type of rocks here. Okay, double click. Next, I want these rocks interact with my layer below. So for this, we have it affinity with the layers. Let's go bring this affinity to about 80-90%. And think about this. What's happening with affinity? Each of these elements they're placing before, they will act as a magnet and will attract. If we're going repulsion, it will push them out. But in this case, we want to attract them. So let's go to density, reduce density a bit lower. We'll go scaling, and let's make scaling smaller. And if we're populating right now, you can see the rocks start appearing around the area. So what we want to do, let's pop up our density a bit higher. Okay, increase a little bit the scaling, and try one more time. I think this way we should have a little bit more rocks, you can see. And let's create a little bit nicer look, kind of almost like rocks around this. Again, if we look on the density, we are a little bit above. Let's go type minus 10 centimeters, and I want a little bit less 10 centimeters because of rocks is smaller. They will be actually going down like right there, and that's more look as the rocks kind of going around this area. So next, let's go add a little bit more to these rocks. And usually we have grass maybe growing by the rocks. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create new layer. And let's go call it grass. Okay. We'll convert this to our ecosystem and particles. And in this case, in this general, we'll go to add item, and we need add plant because now we're selecting grass. We go to grass and plants. And again, depend on what collection, what you have at sections. I'm just selecting probably just the long grass, cortex, different dry weed. So we have all these different grasses. Okay, we have another grass. This is type of the grass. You notice first is default, and I think this is grasses. It's what come with library when you purchase object library, and they have a very nice, very high resolution quality plants, which I actually like a lot. So you can select from there, and we'll go select some from this area. Let's go select a small patch of the grass. It's telling me that TPF, it's kind of high resolution, but I select low resolution, so it should be fine. And other things, it will take a little bit time. Right here you can see when it's populating. Let's go to add additional plant. Okay, we'll go select it, and it'll same low resolution. Now we'll select different color, maybe, you know, a little bit like this kind of. Okay, let's go ahead, click OK. And what I want to do with this, it's add also to the small rocks. So we'll again affinity with the layer, so we'll add a little bit closer to this. Okay, let's go click populate to preview, and you can see they will start going like around here closer to our plants, which is creating very nice effect around the rocks. Let's go take density, pop up density quite a bit. We have it 11,000 instance, which is very nice, not so bad. And you can see how we added a little bit more closer to our rocks. So this is where we can create with affinity and repulsion. So we added a little bit more around our rocks. Usually I use it ecosystem paint brush, and I just brushed painting. So in this case we'll do a little bit more automation, a little bit different ways how playing with this. So let's go ahead, create a new layer, and now I want just to populate with the grass. So the reason is why we did this way. If we want more create around the rocks, we can always add another plant example. Now we can create like take a taller plant, and we can specify populate just around the rocks, creating bigger plants. Okay, and if we want to create new layers, well, it says okay, let's populate with all plants around areas. It's what we're going to do this. So we'll go ahead again, click populate, and now we should have it some bigger grass right there. Okay, let's go create new layer, and we'll call small grass. Okay, same, convert to the ecosystem, and ecosystem will go to add plant, and let's go select what other ones we have it. So we have a lot of different basic grass, and I like to actually select them. So some of them maybe not yet there, so let's select and we'll mix it. I'll mix like small grass field this way. Let's add plant. We'll go a patch of grass selecting. We'll see if they will work. Maybe some of them will need to remove it. We'll go another add plant. So we add this one. Let's go some add another ones. Okay, and you can see how we mix them together. If we click populate, it should do quite a bit, and it's populating everywhere. It's what we wanted. We still have it around the rocks, kind of nice populations, but other ones populate everywhere. And I don't think I like this grass. You know, this patch of grass does not look good. So let's go remove this. We add plant, and we'll just use a different grass then. So we'll also have it long grass. Okay, we'll go to add plant, and now we can back to different grass as example. Let's go to create generic grass, and we'll just create a dying patch grass here. Now maybe you want to remove this long grass if we're using patch grass. And right here we'll select and click delete. Notice we have this % on the side, and it's how much will distribution work. So for example, this says we small grass field 33, and this is about equal on everything. But if I want to go inside, add plant, okay, let's go just add a few more. I want and different. So and this is all equal, should be 25, 25, 25%, which is fine in this case. What's happening if I want to add something else and I don't want a lot of this? For example, if we're going to flowers and I say, well, you know what, I want to add maybe this flower, but I don't want it, let's use reduce quality so it won't take that much memory, but I don't want it equal. So I can go actually right here and type, for example, 2%. So you can see how it will adjust. So now if I click populate, it should populate it with only 2% of those plants, which is actually very nice. It does not overwhelm. It's not creating too much all over places. And this is work very well if we're going to create like for example flowers, some other different colors. For example, let's go to add another plant, and we'll add like red this one, and the same, it should right now going and create 17%. We don't need it. Let's go create 3% on this, click populate, and again, and this will just make this nice adding colors but without overwhelming. Okay, so it's coming very nicely. Let's go to add more plants, and more to add. Again, the better it's getting, the more variety we have. Okay, let's go 3% on this as well. Let's go to add another plant here, and we'll add maybe something like this plant. This should have a different color, so we'll go with preset on a yellow. Let's go to add that. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down, and you can see right here we have 12%. Let's go again 3%, and we'll go populate. The one thing that you will maybe notice right here, the grass going directly through our, oh, it's too much. Yeah, that's 3%. So let's go ahead down and maybe set 1% on this, so we don't have that too much of that flowers, red flowers. They're taking too much attention. But nice things about this red flowers, because they're kind of matching what we have it on the background right there, so kind of give it. Okay, so one thing is you'll notice we have it, the grass, the cover, like right here where the rocks is going straight through the rocks, because in this case we does not necessarily detect collision, and we can fix it. I'll show you in a second how we're going to fix this. But before that, I actually want to go density, pop up a little bit more density. Let's go click populate, because I want a little bit more coverage on the ground. And even with what we had already, this is very good coverage actually we have. Yeah, I think it's going, well, maybe it's too much, so let's go reduce to 60. We'll go populate. It's about half from what we have it. And on the preview you can see we have some grass opening, which is very nice. Okay, so let's go fix the problem that we have it before. You see right here we had rocks, small rocks. So let's go take our grass, okay, and by using this we'll move it down just above our rocks. Next we have it in general, and right here where it says repulsion, let's bring this a little bit up. Let's go click populate, and you'll notice what's happening. It will take and push this grass out of those areas, so they won't be going through our rocks. And if you have the same problem with the other layers, so let's go ahead and bring this back up. We have it small rocks like this echo grass. Okay, let's go bring it a little bit down just under rocks. Okay, and we can do same things with this as well. And maybe in this case actually we want to affinity, and we'll go populate, so it will go a little bit closer, but it won't go growing directly on the rocks. So it will fix some of these problems that we have before. Okay, right here. Okay, I think that is look kind of interesting. Our rocks does not look very foresty. They look too white, too much stuff on them. So let's fix this. If we're going inside our tab for material, you can find right here, it's ecosystem material, you find the rock. So right here we have our rock material. Let's double time click on this, and you can find this is our rock material. It's what we have. We actually can have much fun with this. We can even add ecosystem to this if you need it, but it will take a lot of polygons and everything. So instead, let's create what we did with the terrain. So let's go create new material. Okay, and we'll just set scale to 1. For some reason it's jumped because the other scale was 0, 1, and this one will switch same. Let's go to natural grain, and as a mouse we're creating desaturated darker kind of greenish. Let's create another yellowishy green kind of, maybe like right around this area. Okay, and we'll go select. Let's go add roughness to this, distortion, same like what we did before. Maybe balancing, maybe too much distortions. Let's go back. There you go. Okay, we don't want highlights on this. Let me do set like that, and let's go with the colors. Okay, we set colors, highlights, alpha. So let's go procedural. We'll preload it our a bit more roughness kind of, and we'll go present, and we want to put this maybe around, and this is how you want to go on the top, bottom, or any other areas. But I think if we do it with a slope range around here, let's add a little bit more fuzzy kind of look. Same on the edges, and let's go click OK. So as we click OK, you'll notice right here it says preparing ecosystem. It's take this material and apply it to elements that we have. Like for example, See right there, it's refreshing. When it's done, we can see it. So it's applied materials to the rocks. So it's nice things when you already pre-created and you want to change material, you can change material on ecosystem itself. And you can see it's slightly applied, still right here a bit of the greenish kind of color. We're gonna go check through all of this, be sure we don't have any other ground. But we also can go and check directly into the objects. So let's go right here. We have our foregrounds we can create on our rocks. Okay, and right where we have it, a rough rock right here. So we can select by material, but I think if we just work with the ecosystem and we'll work directly with the small rocks, that will work just fine. Okay, let me just verify it. Go over here, be sure we have it. Any other rocks coming up? Okay, we have a ground, we have another ground here. Okay, I think from materials we cover. Also, I'll notice we have like these petals, red ones. So maybe we want to change in the future. Don't create those red. But this should work just fine. Okay, so right here, our rock, new layer. That's what we created. We can open again, preview. You know what? Maybe presence a little bit more like right there. Yeah, I think this one will look a little bit better. Okay, let's go just change this, call it moss. Okay, and also on a rough rock by itself, let's go switch a little bit colors, just add a little bit more darker and a little bit greener, like right there. So green rocks. Okay, let's go ahead, click apply again. And you can see on our rocks, we have this little bit greenish look. So I think it's kind of blend a little bit better, almost like creating. Now we have our ground cover. Let's go add some trees. We'll go again, select our foreground. And remember, as you work, save your work. So you always have your steps if you need to go back or do other things. And now let's go add plants to this, add trees. One thing I want to create like right there on the back. Okay, so we'll open material editor for our terrain now. And let's add trees. And I'm still, how to say, when I'm developing, I'm always going between, should I use a brush to put it or use it ecosystem. The brush with ecosystem will give me precision, put it where I want it. Without brush, it is all randomly. And because I want to create in specific position, I'm probably going to use a brush in this case. So before I do this, let me take this echo grass that we adjusted and I'll just move it up just to restore the original order we have before. So let's go create a new layer and we'll call it a back trees. We'll switch this one to our ecosystem. And this is trees, it's which going place it on the back of our, okay, right here, let me be sure it's an ecosystem switch. There you go. And we'll go switch the plants, will trees and plant that is on the back of our scenery. And I like this elder, the very light plants, the very low polygons, and they look very good. So we'll go preload it, several of them. So late spring. Let's go add different colors, and that's what we want. We want this variety of the plants that creating natural chaos. And that's that chaos. It's what will create look like a real plant. We don't want to add a little bit bigger ones. Just let's go with a small. Again, it will go just on the back for us to put it there. And we have those ones plants. Let's see what else we have here. We have it. Other let's summer. Let's go those ones 3. So we have it. Same species, just different coloring on the leaves. We'll use them. And what I was saying, we're going to use the paint tool. For this, we'll zoom in closer. And I want to make this reach right here on the back. So it's help us to kind of blend together the stuff. Let's go click on a paint. And you notice right here, we have our paint, Echo Painter, which we have a lot of different tools. We have the orientation, position, all this multiple brushes. From all of this, we're going to use right now just to populate this default brush, which we have our radius, brush flow, scale, all of this. So by default, we leave it right here, and I want just to have it create one small simple brush. And if I look on a background, I see they're a little bit too big size, so it's not necessarily what I wanted. So we'll go ahead and erase them. We can use it just erase tools, or just clear down the stuff. Let's go create a bigger radius on our brush, so we'll be just to remove them right here where we place it. And now instead of them, I want to make them a little bit smaller. Actually, you know what? Let's go clear from this. There you go. So we'll show we clear them. Let's go paint again, select our populate, and then I want to select scale and bring them down, maybe about 1/4. Okay, I want also increase density, and sometimes you maybe want to even remove density, so it will be very, very heavily populated, but for now I think that will work fine. And I'll just go create right here just a line of those plants from edge to edge. So this is just help me to creating, and you can see on a back, it's right here in a preview, should appear very soon, but you can see in this preview it's creating this on a back kind of line, almost help us to separate our mountains. We also can create any additional plants around different areas, like right here. As we get closer, just plant them around there. And these lines of plants that we're planning, okay, let me close this one so we can preview. Oh, let's go click OK. You can see right here we have the plants we plant. Just draw lines. Draw those lines will help us to create a little bit this depth and dimension. Remember what I said about the mountains don't look there. We could always a little bit restore this by taking our camera, if you want the mountains, and just move slightly up so we can preview our mountains. Okay, and again with the mountains we can also play a little bit more with camera a little bit later, but overall this will create for us this line and everything. And after we're creating this isolation, we're ready now to add some our hero subject, hero plants, or if you want even hero rock or any other elements here. Okay, so there's a refresh done. It's take a little bit time to refresh, but you can see right here we have a nice beautiful isolations going around that area. Okay, so the hero one I like to place as a single subject. So we click on this, open our plants, and we can go like European ash. So we can open one plant, and depend on what area you try to create, you can use maybe pine trees to look very beautiful, or any other ones. And you can see I'm just putting right there on the side. Positioning for the plants, for me, it always consider as the framing. So I want to keep it attention of the people in the center. So I probably will create some little bit lower plants here because we have it mountains. So we'll have it like bush going here, bigger trees go from this side, and probably some foreground. So this is our hero subject. And you can see right there we have it, this nice beautiful tree, already kind of give it a nice view. Okay, let's go ahead, right click, and this time I'm going to select this alder that we already kind of use it, and as example we're going and move this a little bit closer to the camera, like around here. And interesting things what you can do, if you just bend a little bit forward and down, they kind of will look almost like you have a bush kind of right there in this area. So again, with the 3D, with what you're creating, it's not actually what the people can see, it's what you want to show them. So you're in control how you build, what you're showing to people, what they can see in your scenery. So this is, just keep in mind that. Okay, let's go ahead. And did I move my things? Yeah, I moved a little bit too far. Okay, let's go ahead. It was kind of locking there, so we'll go right around here. Okay, and let's go down. There you go. So yeah, I was putting in wrong, and I want to bring even closer some. So we'll go ahead and Okay, so let's go ahead, we add one, and we can just now, as we select the plant, so we can click again and it will be the same plant. The one actually I want to bring closer to this tree and bring down. And this is a little bit trick we're going to play, because I noticed some of the plants, mostly if they're not new from factory, TPF factory, the original ones like this, they don't necessarily have very beautiful roots. They actually kind of just stick there. And by adding these bushes almost to their roots, it's hiding them, but it will make them look very real. Of course, we can always right click and go select different plants. For example, if let's go broad list tree right here, you can see those is way beautiful trees, look nice, and of course they are from plant factory, from additional library. So I'm just loading some of them as example, and beautiful about them that they are already, you can see, preset the sizes, so you can select what size you want it. The very high resolution. They do require more resources on your machine when you put them in, but again, they look gorgeous. Okay, and I will just like this eclipse. I don't know if it's they even grow here, and you know, honestly, maybe they don't, but I just like how it's look. So let's go right here, maybe put it around this area. Right there, we're bringing it closer. Again, I'm encapsulating, I'm creating this framing around. And we'll just go select maybe a couple more trees, just put it right up front, or bushes, creating kind of nice look. Right around this area still does not necessarily look very good, but we have it opening. So let's go right click and select different plant. Most of them we can open and it's actually tell us more info. We also have this nice beautiful coloring tree. So let's go ahead and select right here. I think this one eclipse, it's a little bit too big. And let's go, it says the just for the colors. I'm selecting for the colors, and I'll probably just put it a little bit behind. We'll open here behind this bush, and I also need to select some bushes there as well. Okay, low resolution. Just keep it right around here. There you go. Let's move like right there. Okay, and a little bit lower so we can almost mesh together with this bush right there. Okay, and you can see, yeah, that tree look way nice, more realistic. Okay, let's go ahead, open another ones, and we can go to sorry, palm object. So we're kind of going over from tree, maybe like, yeah, let's go select this tree, palm, and we're going to tall, about maybe about this size. Pre-selecting, just add somewhere growing right here. Again, when you select all these different plants, the nice things about them, they are kind of look different, but it's what we wanted. We want to create this almost like a messy look, all mix kind of between different plants. It's usually what's happening, and if you look outside, you have the mix, even you have the same forest like pine trees, but you have the mix of different plants between there. Okay, let's go select again one more, maybe taller size this time. Let's go even select bigger, like about this size. So we'll just put it some right there, and this will help us kind of blend, again, creating all this framing that we're doing together. So we'll create frame for our picture. Okay, we're going right around there, like around here. So we'll create in this area. Let's go now see what we can find more interesting plants. And we have it. Yeah, let's go select this one. Notice I'm selecting like low resolution plants. However, if we're going closer to our things, we want to actually create a little bit higher resolution. Actually right there, let's go closer. And I did increase size on this, but I think it was, we'll go back to original size. I got this size right here, and we'll just bring a little bit closer, like around here. I don't want to cover this rock, but I want to little bit hide this one, just create this nice framing inside too. Okay, let's go see what else we have it. Go explore, go create different plans, see which one we find. Okay, we don't need these ones. These have it very nice. Okay, like right here, for example, let's go select high resolution on this. And for example, we have it high resolution. We'll select higher plans. We can bring them closer, right, because they become our hero subjects. So they become our hero plans. So now we can actually take them and bring way closer to the camera, like right there. So now when we look on them, they will take attention because they higher details and they're very good resolution, and they'll come up very nicely. So I'm still kind of missing maybe a little bit something right there, and we need it, put it half maybe on the middle. Okay, let's go ahead one more time. We'll see what we have here. We have it covered, so we don't need those ones. Let's go back to our trees, see if we can find seedlings. Seedlings may work actually in one case. Let's go ahead and take seedlings, and we'll put them around this right here in this corner to right in this corner. So we'll just again take them, bring them closer, like right there. Okay, again stuck, and we'll need to put it a little bit more up front in this area. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a plant before we do other stuff. And again, we'll just look. I do like this one, how they look. So let's go ahead again, select maybe one more like this. We'll just put it right in this area, and we want about same size maybe, you know. One nice things about the plant factor in Vue, they're using algorithms, so the plants will look similar, like same species, but they're all different, like in real nature, which is kind of make very nice when you're painting or recreating them. So we'll just, you know what, let's bring them more far away, like around here, and we'll shoot around this area up here. And you know what, I think it's time to preview. So we'll go and render 600. Let's go on a low resolution. We'll click OK, and let's go click render. So it's the time to see what we're going so far, because I think we are preset good enough now to move to the atmosphere. Of course, the part when you start to add plants, when you're positioning, this is more creative, and we can literally spend hours and hours, is what I do sometimes, just to add this plant. It does not look right, reposition, change shape of the plant. You can do this with a plant editor and other things, add something else, and so on. So we kind of start playing a little bit more with this. But I think at this point, we are good just to test. So I'm going to pause this video and resume when this render is completed, so we can see what we have so far. Okay, so here we have our small preview, and this is, I think it's done. I rendered before, so we can preview on the rocks, and also we render, yeah, this is just a rock example, and this is with the add plants. And I think we're good enough. Just start working on lighting. You know, I may add something right in this area right here between those plants, somewhere right here missing. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll go open plant again, and you know what, let's go select what we can find, something nicer look. Broadleaf again, let's go select this one, just similarity, and we'll go select, okay, let's set not a very big one, maybe around this plant. So just smaller plant right around this area. Okay, right there. Okay, let's go add something more interesting here. And overall, we're going to have the flowers, plants. We don't need objects because we don't have this one. Some climbers, we don't have it, but we could add a little bit more of this. And I do like trees. We have a couple there. Maybe we should add like one long one, like way on the back right there. Bigger plant, yeah. Let's go add some hiding right here. There you go. So we have it one plant right there. Let's click again. And now if you right click, you have one left one will allow us to select sizes. So we already know what tree we're selecting. We're just selecting size of the plant. And that is feature only work with the plant factory kind of TPF plants. Okay, we'll go add this one here. Add to the end, right around there. And let's go add one more like this. Only this time taller. And we'll add right here around that plant. Okay, and it's finished loading. And we'll just go drag, put like on the back right there. So just create this kind of, again, you can see of the flow, what we have had flow to middle. We can use this middle point if you want to add model subject. You can add, import any other elements or just visually, so it's work very well. Okay, let's go save our work at this point, and we kind of ready work on atmosphere. So I will start with position of the sun. We'll go click on the sun, and you know what, we also can do other things. Like for example, you'll notice if your computer starts to be a little bit slower to respond, we can actually fix that. And mostly it's related to how many polygons you have. So let's go create new layer. We'll select all of these plants. We'll drag them in layer 3. Okay, that is will be our where the plants resided. Okay, let's go call it tree. Okay. And what we're going to do, it is hide this. So if we just right there click empty, you'll notice it's hide all of this. Oh, we still have one on sitting right there. And notice what's happening now. It is responding a little bit faster. So this one, because it does not render all of that stuff, and even we still have it in preview, it's just hiding from our workspace. And I do like this. Sometimes I'm creating this way and hiding some high polygon meshes, so it's allowed me to work a little bit faster. I do have it 2070, I think, RTX card, so it's not bad card, but again, it's much faster if you work otherwise. So now let's go to select our sun, and I want actually creating more golden hour look. So I'll take sun, put it a little bit on the back, so it's coming from sun from this direction, mountains, and we'll drop down a little bit. So not too much, just right there on the sun. I don't necessarily want it will be so visible to me, this light, but it will help coming from side. Again, with the plans, we can preview if your system, again, this render, and I'm using, actually you can see quite a bit large size and preview. If you have it smaller, it will pre-render your preview faster. But again, we can actually fix this. Just click right here, remove the trees from preview, and now in preview you will see it won't be any trees here in preview. It's take 1 second to remove them, but we will have it just the sun. So that way we can work with atmosphere in one case. I'm not necessarily like to do this because some of the leaf shadows and everything, it's what I'm working with. But if you have this like preview on a background mountains, that will give you a little bit better view right now. And mostly you can see the lights highlight top. I like how it's work. Will work with our plants, other ones very well, and mountains come up very well. But this is kind of things hiding from render or preview. Sometimes it's nice work when you work just on a clouds example. So right here we're going to atmosphere editor, and I want to add some clouds to this. So I'm going to open. We'll go select big cumulus clouds, which should actually fill up almost all sky for us with the clouds. I'm not necessarily want to have it all of this fill up like this all the way, because I won't see mountain. I want just whisper of those clouds. So for this, actually, I'm going to take density and take density all the way to like 1% pop-up opacity. You'll notice it will be kind of like whispering on the clouds, and we can see our mountains very well in this case. Okay. Also, our high altitude 1 kilometer, height is 90 meters for the layer of our clouds. We could, I think 1 kilometer should be enough for us. We do want to add a little bit more altitude variation. It will add to the top of our clouds, a little bit better effect. And a sky and fog, let's take aerial perspective, just add a little bit to aerial perspective, pop-up quality. It will add somewhat fog. We can add a little bit on a ground fog just below. And let's go ahead right now, wait till our preview is updating. And I'm checking, I think maybe clouds is too low. So let's go with our clouds and we'll pop up altitude maybe to around 3 kilometers. We can also, if you zoom out, you can see right here we have our mountains and our clouds layer. If you prefer, you can also just move the clouds this way, as well as adjusting thickness of the layer. Okay, let's go zoom out, and right here you can see our mountains is covered in clouds. So let's go bring them up above our clouds. One thing also, when we're done with this way, it should speed up a little bit render, because when we do volumetric clouds and they kind of collide with another object, and worse, if they collide with another maybe volumetric, then you'll have it horrible render time. So you can have some little bit optimization done in this case. Okay, so that way we'll have a little bit more clear mountains here view. Also, yeah, right here you can see it, so we have it a little bit better. This, they're less visible because I think I pop up too much on my aerial perspective. So let me decrease this one and decrease just slightly on the fog. Okay, so we have a nice look. I think with the clouds, I maybe want actually reduce just slightly on the cover, because I want opening a little bit on the sky this way. And let's go ahead. We have a nice color. Shadows look okay. Let's go ahead on a sun. And a sun right here, we have automatic softness, which is kind of fun. Okay, so let's go ahead actually back to our atmosphere editor, preview. One thing, maybe I want to add just pinch of the atmosphere, a little bit yellowish, warm, slightly color, but it should cover okay. And the clouds, again, if you want, you can add a little bit more density. I think this look okay. Let's go uncheck our trees. So we have it populated. And I think in this, I'm ready, just click on the preview of the render. So because it's already pre-created, I'm going to click render. So it will take a little bit time to preparing file and render. Again, I will pause my recording till render is completed so we can preview this. Notice also before render, my file options, I said save my file every time before render. The currently versions of the view are actually very stable, and they way improve overall what was in way before when it's crashing. So but it's still be good practice, you know, just to be sure your work is safe before something else you putting on your machine. Okay, so right here render completed, and it's look nice. I'm not sure if I like this white plants poking up, but again, at least add some more details. So it's up to you if you think you want to keep them. But I think we're missing some right here. Maybe if it's flowering, something else color-wise, because we have it flow here, sharper. So overall, it's look okay. I'm not sure about this white flowers. We could easy, because we're done with ecosystem, to fix that by going inside our terrain ecosystem and remove them from that area, or make much less. I think we have it like 1% right now. So if we're going to edit our terrain, and we'll go right here with a small grass ecosystem, and we have this, I think with white, this one, it's a 2%. So we could actually reduce this amount, and I don't need really worried about so yeah, let's go have like maybe 1% and a scale maybe to 0.5, so we make it even smaller on this plants. Okay, same maybe right here to 1% and 1%, just to decrease them a little bit. Okay, and I don't worry about overlapping them with other things, so we're okay just to leave them like right here, except Repulsion. It's from Grass Echo. Actually, yeah, it should be fine. It just will push them out, but will reduce quite a bit amount of those plants, white plants, except that they are poking right here 5. Yeah, I don't want 5, I want 0.5. So that is kind of I'm just looking at this picture, and they way big, so we don't want them that large. We want them opposite, be smaller. So we populate it. There you go. Now they will be a little bit hidden, so won't be too many plants there. So that way it will work. And again, we could put it down to repulsion from the rock. Mostly I was showing you other techniques to do this, but right now how much it's coverage we have it, we don't need to worry about that at all. Okay, let's go ahead, click OK. Come a little bit closer to ours. And next things, I want to go in a plant, and something again right here just missing in this area, something we need to have it there. So let's go see what we can find. We have it our trees. Again, we can put it those trees, which is kind of looking okay. Maybe this pink one tree will come up a little bit. Again, we have it too much pink, but no, they look okay actually. Those red ones come up. We could reduce them as well, just a little bit less make of them. But I think right here we put it some pink. Let's go with this tree. Just add it and put it right on the side. Okay, we'll go to select a little bit bigger size, and we'll just place it right around this area. Okay, around here and a little bit closer. So I think somewhere like around this area right there, there will be right here. Okay, we can also re-enable back our plants, because it's what we're working right now. So I want to preview where the plants will going. That will help us a little bit to position properly them. Okay, and let's go back to this one. Let's go to our material editor, small grass, and check on our plants. So these ones, it's 5%. See how they pop up. And this one thing I find when you adjust sometimes sizes, see how the percents change, because I try to balance them a little bit better, but balance not always work as we want it. So let's go ahead, click populate. Okay, and we should have it very nice. Let's go click OK with population. And you know what? I think we needed here flowers. So let's go ahead to our flowers. And these flowers, we have it palms. Okay, let's go see what we have here to this one, and we can select maybe something like these plants, just put them right here somewhere. Just take attention. We have it those. Yeah, let's go ahead with the lower resolution purplish color. Just put them just around this area, just to make another color attention. Okay, we'll go bring them closer. Okay, let's go zoom out. Oh, they're way far away. So yeah, we'll need to bring them like maybe around here. And I'm dragging all of this, so I don't want to do this. I think I'm dragging all of my stuff. And instead, I need to restore it and drag just my plant. There you go. Just put it right around here. And that should work. Okay, so we kind of populated, I think. Let me select. I think right here up front, we're still missing something like right around that area. And then it's what I said before, it's always come to the problem when you think it's not enough. So you create more and you add more stuff, and you just kind of start playing around with the elements. So you add more and more stuff, and that is a part of the creating kind of your work. Okay, so let's go right here. Let's go see, bring closer, like right there. Yep, let's go bring around this area so it's covered, but I don't want to be on the same line with this, so we'll want to move. Maybe it's that way. Okay, let's go select different plant. Okay, numbers, we'll go seedlings. We have it seedlings or that branches. Yeah, we can add a little bit more seedlings around this, or flowers. Let's see if we find parallels. Go right there. Yeah, let's go with this. That look nice. Add them. Yep, around this area, selecting, and we'll just add them here. So we'll select it. They're too small actually for us. Well, that's okay. We'll put them till we already loaded. We'll just leave them here. We could increase in size them, just like right there. I know it's not very natural, but it will add a little bit more effect. And let's go here, select, you know what, let's go to broadleaves. We'll go select again our tree. Will just create smaller, and I'll just want to put it closer on the ground. And other things we also can do, it's when we create, we can shrink down. You don't necessarily need to create a same size. For example, if we have a tree right here that we have, we actually can take this tree and we can shrink it so it's make much smaller. Okay, and let's just bring and put it like right here. Okay, increase a little bit in size. There you go. And let's sink down. So we don't want it over cover, but we want to like positioning. There you go. So it will have it something creating like in this area you can see, but we are showing only what we want to show. Again, we don't want to, and maybe, you know, let's put same tree on this side so it will look kind of like right here, so it's matching a little bit. Okay, we'll go in this area and just put it right around here, like right there. No, maybe it's too far. Maybe closer here. There you go. So just place it around that area. And a nice thing is you can see the roots on the plant, factory plants. So the roots is actually very good. They look more natural. Okay, and this plant is look very good, but it's pinch too big. So like right there maybe. Yeah, it was too much attention getting right here. I think overall we look good and ready for render. Okay, this one plant, let's move a little bit more out around here. Just placement, so we have a little bit more placement around this area. The one color, we need a little bit darker color, I think, also around this area. So let's go ahead, select, let's go with a low resolution, maybe coloring, kind of like this one. Yeah, high resolution. Okay, let's go select this plant, and then maybe putting around there. Just a little bit more details we need to add. Okay, right here. There you go, just something like right in this area. We got color going, and you can start adding more and more details, and this is what's happening right now. Kind of cannot let go sometimes. It's fun to do this stuff. Okay, let's go grass. We'll go select a bigger grass now. Okay, right there. I think this will be good place for the grass actually. So we'll go select this patch of grass, and we want this large size of this grass as well. Oops, our camera is higher now. That is the reason, because I moved my camera up, so and I'm losing some of these elements. So we want to bring it around here, just a little bit bigger on a grass patch. Okay, put it up front, somewhere like right here. So it's will going around this area. Okay, let's wait till the preview done. Okay, it's look way better. But before render, I see we lost some of the sky. So let's go reduce coverage. And sky fog, haze, so we'll just reduce a little bit. Got rays here, so we'll go add a little bit more. Go right there. Okay, so we'll go okay on this. Let's select our plants and move them into our tree folder, so they kind of all be here together. And we could add another cloud layer. I'm still thinking about this, you know, just to play a little bit more with the cloud layer right around there. Something, we'll see how our sky come up, because sky is too milky. Does not have any, it's very plain atmosphere, so and I'm not necessarily like that way. But let's go ahead, hide this from render, and from preview we'll just hide that stuff. So I just want to work only with the sky right now, because I think the plants were in a good place right now with all this composition, and we just I don't like it how the sky coming up. Okay, and also, you know what, let's go ahead and kind of hide our foreground. So it will be way faster, way easy to preview right now, because how say the skies look a little bit boring, so we need to add some colors to this. We need to add clouds, and that's what I was thinking we're going to do. Also, preview quality standards, it should be fine. Priority is high. So yeah, I think that is actually work very well. Okay, and let me see, we foreground, we hide foreground out, so we're all good on this one, and only background. Okay, so let's go to atmosphere editor right now, and in atmosphere editor we're going to work a little bit. Notice we work in photometric spectral. So in the photometric spectral, let's try to create this accurate look, but with draw with this we're losing some saturation, this illustration colors. So we'll continue working with this set, but we'll need to go add clouds. Let's go add a little bit more kind of darker clouds, flat cumulus. I don't know if they will work. A dark cumulus probably work a little bit better for us. In this case, we should add a little bit more kind of overlay with a high density and opacity. I don't know if the cover is, should reduce cover anyway on this one. Add altitude, and then that cloud should add a little bit more depth and dimension, except we're hiding again, we're hiding a little bit our mountains right here. But I do like overall how clouds look in this area. So this is kind of, we need to work maybe on this mountain. Okay, let's go ahead and height, maybe pop up a little bit, like about 2 kilometers, so we'll bring them way high. Because we bring way high, they will become smaller. To increase, we'll need it pop-up scale to make them a little bit bigger. So that way we can retain the shape we have it on our clouds, but raise them above the mountains. Okay, we can go check around, and we can see right here we have it where's our clouds right here, and this is mountain. So they're still kind of touching our mountains, so we want this go up a little bit higher, maybe around that area. So yeah, let's go put it around this area. But how I say, we'll lose some of this beautiful resolution, so we'll need it increase. Going in atmosphere editor, and we'll need to increase some of this scale over all of the clouds. And altitude should be fine. 4 kilometers, yeah, that should be good, except maybe let's drop a little bit lower, maybe about 2 kilometers. And we'll always can take this mountain and shrink down a little bit and bring closer. So we're going a little bit reposition for this mountain to make it stand out in this area. Okay, so let's go to going to our atmosphere editor, and in atmosphere editor it's kind of still, I don't necessarily like how they look, those dark cameras. So we'll go to reduce again size, maybe reduce a little bit altitude, again down, a little bit low on the cover. I want to open and have right here you can preview something a bit more. We can drop even probably 20 kilometers, so it's will going over a little bit mountains here. And because we brought them a little bit closer, we'll see more details, so the haze won't necessarily work as much. And then we need to bring a little bit back our haze and this properties just a little bit back, so we can restore it some of this. Okay, so it's look a little bit better. Again, we're lost. We want to probably get it a couple things here. We want to increase glowing on the sky, so it's add a little bit more glowing to the sky. On the clouds, maybe let's pop up coverage a little bit back, because I think we lost something. And drop details, add altitude a little bit more to this cloud, so it will create nicer cover. And let's pop up cover back up. Okay, I think the clouds and sky look a little bit more interesting now, so we can go back and re-enable all our things that we hide it. Okay, let's go click and enable them back, and let's go ahead and maybe start rendering, see what we have at this point. And I'm going to, as usual, I'm going to render and pause rendering. So I'm going to render HD resolution, final preset. So it should give it us all this properly coloring and everything. Okay, let's go ahead, click OK, and I'm going to click render now. Okay, so right here we have it, our render is completed. It took about hour 53 minutes. So let's go ahead and look what we have so far. One thing, we want to disable after exposure, so we have it image as we preview. Usually I do this after exposure, disabling the camera, because I don't like the camera adjust for me. Overall, it's actually look very nice to set up. The clouds may work a little bit better. I do like on the middle clouds how right here come up. On the right side clouds a little bit bland, maybe add something more. And same the mountains, I brought closer. We have some coloring, everything, but maybe need a position of the sun a little bit pushed back for a little bit lighting. Overall scenery of the composition of the grass and other materials work very well. You can notice right here where we did with our materials, like with the grass where it's not covering, but we still see ground under. And because we did with this material that is kind of blending, it's actually work very well. We don't see, it does not feel like a just patch of the grass. It feels like something right there. So this is the reason why we did that material. Overall, our rocks pop up, not so many, which is actually a very nice coverage on the rocks, just a little bit there. Trees and plants look good. I'll say we can work more on this image, and usually it's what's happening when you work. It's a little bit harder to put it something really some good, very perfect pictures in 1 hour. So overall in this video I try to go over principles, how we can create special textures, how we can apply it, compositioning, lighting, and all that stuff. So just a principle of this, hopefully they will give you some inspiration to create your own artwork, show you some of those elements that you can work more on this and creating. Again, I probably will continue working on this image later. I will rework with a sky. And by the way, tip on a sky, what I usually do, maybe set up rough shape for this and play just with atmospheres, nothing else. And when you create beautiful looking atmosphere with sky one specific height, just save this atmosphere, save in specific with information so you know what is this applied to. And after from your library you can easily pull out without worrying. And you saw how sometimes it's slow reacting and everything, so you can avoid this by creating separate atmosphere and importing or loading them afterwards. But overall, I'm kind of happy how it's come up. It's interesting looking image. Have a few elements that I think I'm going to work on. Some of those items, just add some small elements there and there. But overall, it is interesting project, and I hope you found this useful, found some of those tips helpful with your work in Vue. Thank you for watching these videos, and let me know what you're thinking.